Yeah. So we are back in the building. Let's make history. We're going to be talking about fatherhood as a black man, some of the stereotypes that you know that we have to deal with and that we've overcome. We're just going to get straight into it, fellas. Let's make history. Yeah. We got L in the building.
Yes, sir.
We got Fresh in the building.
What it is.
Charm.
Yo.
What up?
What up?
I go by the name of The Experience. Y'all know what it is.
Let's go.
So, all right. I know, L, you threw this topic out there, man.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna let you go ahead and pop that off.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about fatherhood, especially from a black man's perspective, because there's a lot of smoke out there
Right.
about us as far as fathers is concerned. And just out of curiosity, I just went ahead and Googled black fathers. Just that.
Right.
And the things that pop up on the first page, it's kind of like, just to give you this is from Newsweek. They're dragging about the absent black fathers myth again. Chicago Reporter, breaking myths about black fatherhood. Vox, which I watched them, debunking the most myths about us, reframing. So it's basically, the tone isn't all that positive. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think, and full disclaimer, all of us here are fathers.
Right.
All of us here are damn good fathers.
Absolutely.
And I think we all take a lot of pride in us being good fathers. But again, there's this notion out there that black men are just making babies and that's about it.
Right. I take care of them.
Yeah. So I think that's something that we just need to address, because I'm not saying that there's some legitimacy to that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's a ton of us out here that are not, we don't swim. We don't swim that. We don't rock that way at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Can I throw this out there and tagging this wise? The history shows we don't. I mean, in abundance. There isn't. If we put 10 black fathers in, history shows that the numbers doesn't support that 10 are great. It does not support that.
Right.
So, I mean, for someone to label us or market us that way, they haven't been lying. We are breaking traditions. I love it. And, let's make history. We're making history more than one way, beyond podcasting, talking, living our life, doing different things, entrepreneurship, creating films, doing businesses. We are making history. Small few, which I'm glad that we are. You know what I'm saying? But the reality of it is, majority of people that I know, including myself, come from broken homes. Now, I do know my father, luckily, and I thank God my father's not, he didn't live in my household at all, but I knew him. I can call him, da-da-da. Right. Not living in your household is part of saying to that thing of what anybody would consider a tough growing up without the male in the home. Not just because I can call them, because I got 3 other brothers and sisters. I was the oldest. They don't have the same exact relationship. Right. They don't get to run and call. I mean, they can, but if you're just not there, it's a separation further and further and further. So only I was saying, as far to that point, the numbers are proving that we have not been the great thing, because it's the community is broken. Now, I'm not saying it's due to one thing or another, to people just being fuck-ups, but for whatever reason, they have not been around.
Yeah, and I guess we can kind of touch on that as far as some of the, for lack of better words, obstacles, if you will,
right,
or the whys.
You know what I mean? Because there's got to be reason why some of us have and some of us don't have. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
So I mean, that's definitely there's a lot of things that people can bring up, whether it be the system or how I mean.
I'm a big systematic person. I very much am. I say that based on. All right, so here recently, take 2 seconds to talk about it. I've been trying to find my family history. Right, my girl knows she can touch back a lot of people.
Right.
I can't go past my grandfather and don't know much about him. Just be honest with you, I don't really know much about him.
Right.
I know him. I met him. I hung out with him. Been to their house. Right. But like just saying that oh, this my grandfather accomplished this, achieved that. I really don't know that much.
Right,
I know a few things. I know more of the bad things than I knew of the good things, right? So when I say that, I feel like, oh, I need to figure out what's going on. Why did they? Now, all of my father and my grandfather the same way. They all know each other. It's not, but it wasn't all, we all up in here. You know what I'm saying? It was a rough turmoil. Not to say that nobody abandoned us, so I do thank God that part didn't happen, because some people just said, all right, fuck it, I can't handle it, I'm gone. Now, they ain't just leave, but it wasn't every single day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now, I'm saying that to say, damn, I don't know none of my history. Let me see what happened with their daddies. You see what I'm saying? What the hell's going on there?
Right.
The further I go back, it's the same shit. You see what I'm saying? So systematically, everybody been trying to do what they've been trying to do, what they thought was best.
Right.
Without, you don't see the long-term effects. Same thing like COVID vaccination. You don't know the long-term effects for 20 years. You won't know how your kid was affected about that until 20 years later. You don't know that.
That's a great point right there, because like exactly what you just said. So like me and Charm grew up, like our stepfather raised us, but I never referred to him as my stepfather. I just never have. Only time I refer to him as that is when I'm trying to talk to people and differentiate
separate
who I'm talking about, because I was born in Baltimore. We were born in Baltimore, moved here back in '87. So and throughout from '87 and growing up, I never really had a true relationship with my biological father. And so it wasn't until, and my mom never spoke ill of him. Right. So I never had, it was never a thing to where it really affected me. And because of the fact that I had a man in the house, we had a father figure in the house. It never like was like, oh, we didn't have a father figure, right? It wasn't until 20 years later, to where
having your own kids.
And I remember it vividly. I was in my first apartment off on Pepper Tree, and I remember calling my grandfather. I was in tears because I was just like, yo, like, why the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like Fresh Prince, you know what I'm saying? Like, why you don't love me, man?
Right.
It was just like, damn, like that's when you start thinking about it. I was already a grown adult off on my own. This is my first time being or having emotions about it at all in my life. You see what I'm saying? And it wasn't until then. And then when when my oldest daughter, when she was on the way, then that's when you can start seeing stuff differently. Because you're like, oh, this is the
pattern. He
this
was
is what was going on.
Right, he ran into a bump. Exactly.
This is what was
He
going
wasn't no
on.
crazy motherfucker. He just ran into a bump and he was like, oh,
I don't know what to do.
I love my kid, but this one, I can't. Right. So, I told him, glad you came through that, because my biggest thing was, as an adult, it's a split edge. You're either gonna let it use you to say, I'm gonna be fucked up like that, or you're gonna try to say, damn, I ain't gonna never want that to happen. And I feel like us four have tried our best. And we're not perfect, but we've tried our best to say, damn, I know that pain.
Right.
I you know what I mean? I know what that is. You know, it's a dark, alone pain. It ain't pain everybody when you'll see it on day. It's a pain you'll see when you're in your room at night one time. Or you're watching a movie one day. Or you wanted to answer one day and you don't have the fucking answer. That's the pain when it hits. It don't never hit you every day all day. It hit you in a dark corner one day. You're like, shit. And it eats away at your confidence, eats away at your ability to feel what you do. It's a pain that you feel it on your own. There's nobody can share that pain. Even siblings will share different pains of what they did not experience. I definitely will share different pains than my brother and sister, because I got my father 6 years longer than they ever did. Right. Ever. Like, I actually lived in the same state with them. They never ever lived in the same state. Right. So the whatever emotion they feel is totally different than the emotion that I totally feel, because I know I have a different relationship with him. Right. I feel like it can, again, same way. They can use that pain, and it can hurt them forever, and it can smush them into their kids, and it can go to the same pattern with their kids. And okay, well, look at the pattern here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You may not care. 20 years from later, you're gonna your daughter's gonna have, or your son's gonna have that same conversation, or how you feel about your mama right now. Right. They're gonna feel the same way.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that too. Outside of us having a father figure in the house, we also have different biological fathers. Right. You know, my biological father is deceased now, but I'm named after him. I'm also named after my grandfather. You know, and that goes to your point. I know nothing about my grandfather. All I know is that I'm named after that man. Mm-hmm. I really know nothing about my biological father. Right. You know, it wasn't until he passed that I asked my mom, like, yo, I just remember the day I got the call, we was at Scandalos on a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Tone X and friends. Yeah, you know what I mean? Back in the day. So the very next day is the first time that I've ever heard my mother speak anything about my father. Mm-hmm. Good, bad, cat, dog, shit, by nothing. Right. She never spoke of him. She never spoke ill of him. Right. But she never spoke of him at all. Right. Because of what she went through with him or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I personally use that as when I have kids, I will never have kids out here that I just out here and I don't know nothing about. I ain't calling them, I ain't texting them or nothing. You know what I mean?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to kind of get you guys 2 cents or your perspective on how becoming a dad changed you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
As far as your previous experiences, experiences from your homeboys, you know what I mean? So like, look, let me start with you. Well, what's up, Charm? Let me start with you.
I'll just say that for me, it changed me in a big way. You know, it made me grow up. Obviously, you know, I think we can all say that it made us grow up having children. Right. But outside of it making me grow up, you know, like I say, it just made me want to do better because I had a father, but I didn't see my biological father take care of any of his kids. Right. You know what I mean? So it made me just want to be like, yo, I will never be that way. Right. You know, it forced me to settle down as a man, you know, become a family man, you know, like, man, I got little people that's looking up to me, you know, like it was like the best feeling in the world for me at that time. It was gratifying, like, wow, I'm a dad, you know what I mean? Like, you try to make sure you do everything right, but you're going to make bumps in the road, obviously. Yeah. But, you know, yeah, man, it just changed me. It softens your heart as a man, you know, it just makes you just like, man, you want to be so great for these people who are looking up to you, you know what I mean? So,
what'd you say for you?
Yeah, definitely piggybacking off of what he said, it made me, you know, I had Ari, that was like about 24, man. So that was around the time when we was outside, like we was heavy on, you know what I'm saying? And so it really made me dial back from all of that shit. Like I was heavy into music. I was doing the music. I sat back from that for a minute because I was like, yo, I gotta revise my whole strategy. I was like, yo, because it was a situation now where it's like it's not just me. At that time, it was just me, and I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted. You know what I'm saying? And didn't have to answer right. But now it's like, yo, I got somebody else that's depending on me.
She needs to eat.
Right, you see what I'm saying? That's a whole different mentality, man. And so it definitely matures you, and then it puts you in a situation to where it's like you love your parents, you love your siblings, you love your family. You got, you know, your lady friends that you might be dealing with or whatever. But when you have that child, that puts you in a situation to where this is somebody that you love unconditionally.
What they call it.
You know what I feel me? Yeah, it's like, yo, like
you can't even describe the feeling.
Can't, right? You know what I'm saying? And so it puts you in that space. And like to me, man, it's like being a father is like out of all of the titles that I might have, entrepreneur, actor, business owner, you know, director.
Doesn't compare.
It doesn't compare to the title of father for me, you know, and that's what it did for me from the standpoint of, with, like I say, just speaking on, like it was conversations that like me and Charm, like I said, we had different biological fathers, and I always think about there's a line that I think Hov said on Volume 2. It was on with him and Bleak. We tied it in brothers with different fathers and the same mothers. That shit spoke. Because that shit was like,
that's our real life.
That's our real life. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it was times, man, I mean, it was just, we would be in the room, it was like emotional moments sometimes, because it was like, man, you know, having conversations, and when you really start to, and it was like, you don't want to be that guy. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, that was the main thing. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy.
I will not be that guy. Yeah.
Some people do or don't, you know what I mean? Because some people say, listen, this is what I know.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
because that's all they know. That's all they saw.
I know.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
A lot of people have been asking exactly what the Inner Elite is. Well, one thing the Inner Elite is a network. It's an online television network. And what you can do is you can go download the app right now on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. So you can catch up with all the latest content we're dropping. We dropping content from content creators all around the world. And you want to be in on that. Trust me.
The reason why I was saying what I said at the beginning is because it comes, this snowball of bad fathering. Don't know if you looked up white fatherhood, so we can only compare black. But the snowball comes, it's not that these kids are starting this snowball. This shit, they already into a ball that's this damn big. Mm-hmm. That shit, they came from a hill all the way down to this fucking big. You know what I'm saying? So when we think of people saying they don't know having sex unprotected or stuff like that, they daddy probably said the same stuff. So we were on a conversation saying, damn, yeah, you going in there raw dick acting stupid. They may not be acting stupid. Maybe they are stupid. I mean, if you got to think that,
yes,
I mean, let's be fair.
Yeah,
if you go into something, if you don't know, I mean, clearly you don't know how sex works. If you don't know that you can possibly have or you just think you missed a pumper that can pull out every single time. We all been there. We all thought with the quick pull's gonna work, but it doesn't work all the time.
I think it just has to do with recklessness. I just think cats is just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I see people joke around on social media, no pull out, I ain't pulling out, da-da-da-da. Yeah. That's what happens when you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, again, I'm saying the only point I was making was it's not a new thought.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a thought that's been snowballed down for we don't know why. And as an adult, what I can't say as an adult, when I make the mistakes that I feel that my father would have made or his father, then I started getting more appreciative or at least less rowdy about feeling bad about the people before me, because I'm like, shit. This is probably what happened in fuck his career. This is probably the flow to fuck Jeffrey career right here.
Yeah,
so, and there's a lot of times you almost step on that mine. You're like, oh, this is how he lost his family, or this is how he's not around him all the time, because you can see the mistake that you were about to or did make. Right. And I'm a mistake maker and I have made of several in my life. You know what I'm saying? So now when I start thinking about my dads and my grandfather. There was a time, and I feel like my brothers and sisters do feel that they do hold a bitter resentment to them just because they don't or have not got to the appreciation I have got. But they probably will never get there. We're all different humans, so they probably will never get to what I've got. But I've got to a point where I'm not taking away their fault. Y'all are definitely, could have done better. But I've walked through the shoes to say,
you can understand.
You get it.
I see where you tripped. I tripped on the same step. I've literally bumped my knee on the same step. It's got your blood, it's got my blood.
Right.
Let's hopefully it don't make nobody else's blood. You know what I'm saying? I understand your human faults. This happens.
Right.
But your human faults were on your child, on me. So I'm a little more personal than your human faults on, your job or or somebody you were tutoring or mentoring. Right. If your human faults affect your blood, your lineage, it hurts a little bit more, especially when you see somebody, and then not speaking in my case, but like sometimes you see what you didn't feel in your father might have been better than something else in the world. Like, hold on.
Right.
How the hell that work out?
That's a great point.
Stepfathers, to be exact.
Right. Like, so, because it becomes a thing to where as I got older, really once I had my oldest, and that's when I started having the conversations more with my biological father. We really didn't establish an actual relationship until I was an adult, right? And so even up until like a few years ago, we would have conversations because there were things that were still, like a lot of the times we dealing with shit, we're dealing with emotional trauma from our childhood that just kind of pops up all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So I remember I had a conversation with him like really a couple of years ago, and because I was like, man, he would come down and get Ariana for a week for the summer, and we have her up in Baltimore, or they would go to Disney World or go here and there.
Some shit you ain't never
and
did.
It was like, how come you ain't never do that with me though? Like you can set out the schedule, you can call me and let me know, hey, we coming down and get the grandbaby for the week. But it's like throughout my whole childhood, like you never did that. Like it was like when I say never, like it was never a time to where you like set up the time and was like, yo, I'm gonna come get you for the week and you're gonna be with us for the week, and 1 week out of the summer we're gonna go to. I don't have any memories of like tied like memories. I have memories, but I mean as far as like memories of a relationship to where like my brothers and sisters that grew up with him have how they view him. I don't view him the same way, and I'm the junior, right? And so it's like I can see that, and that causes a situation at times, right? You know, because it's just like the relationship is
as
just
a
not
human
there.
and as a man, therapeutically talking. What if he became a better man based on that? Unfortunately, it affected, like you said,
he probably did.
Yeah. But what happens when you see when you bump your knee, and I'm not calling you a mistake, but when you bump your knee one time, he may not want to bump his knee again, ever again, that way. And it may hurt that he can't never clean the blood up off of you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that way about a lot of the parents because there's a difference between deadbeat and a motherfucker who just don't got it all together. The deadbeats just totally do not fuck with you, don't just claim you, take their name on paperwork. These are deadbeats. A motherfucker that just can't get it together are people that we know functioning right now. We know 30 and 40-year-olds that are just like, you ain't a deadbeat, you just ain't that good of a father. Through our eyes, put it like that. I'm judging through our eyes.
My only rebuttal to that, and again, I'm Mr. Accountability, is that women don't have that same luxury of using that as an excuse. You know, so
as far as which part?
Well, as far as I wasn't ready or I don't have my shit together, a lot of the same men that are thinking this, the women are probably thinking the same thing too. You know what I'm saying? So again, and I'm not
it's hard to say that with women because they're, again, from our other talks, they're more accepting for marriage and kids and things like that. So them giving a baby isn't as detrimental to their life as men. You know what I mean?
It's not as detrimental.
I'm saying based on women are already, like we were talking about before, they already envision marriages and kids and stuff like that. So then when they have one early, there's not really, this was too early for me. It really doesn't really affect women like that.
I can't say it doesn't affect them.
I mean, how many more women are offended more than men when you hear the word pregnancy? It's more of a woman usually like, my baby. You know, the men is not.
My thing is that bottom line is bottom line, and I think for and this goes just beyond our community, just anybody in general. There just has to be a level of responsibility that you got to accept. In any other circumstance in life, you're able to pick yourself off the floor and dust yourself off and try to make it better. And I think when it comes to being a parent, you got to be as resilient. You know, you have to do it. I think that it's man, I hate to say, but it's kind of like our moral obligation, our moral duty to make sure that if we bring life into this world, that to the very best of our ability, we try to give that life as the best opportunities as possible. You know what I'm saying? And again, I know it's some people that's common sense. Others is like, I don't know about all that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The condom is the ultimate hairset because without it, it's either you're going to have a conversation about are both y'all ready, and then what the woman says, I don't give a damn if you're not ready, I'm having a baby. Nigga, first of all, we can't tell women how many abortions they want to have, and this their stomach and body and inside. So how many times you going to tell a woman, oh, go ahead and knock that out? You know what time it is. That's only so many times. Because what if 10 years later they actually want to have babies and they can't because of these scenarios? So the ultimate trying to do that is the condom, because after that it's only about conversation, and there's no way to either one actually be on the right side if there wasn't a planned pregnancy. So if this was an accidental pregnancy, the woman is gonna say I'm ready, or the man gonna say I'm ready. Like that meme shows, okay, well if the woman ain't ready, she know what she gonna do.
Has to say.
The man ain't ready, guess what he does? It becomes lack of fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if the woman's right for the abortion, or yay or nay. That's not for me to say. I'm saying that the meme is so accurate because if the man says he's not ready, he walks away. He can't. I guess abort. Let's use word. I don't like to use the word kill, but he can't abort the baby himself. The woman can abort the baby themselves. She holds the card. So the maturity level is really pre-sex for this conversation. The pre-sex is getting ready to go into this, and even after the sex, listen, we ain't ready, we ain't want no kids. We agreeing on that. We agreeing on that. Don't come to me next week and say I'm pregnant. Are we agreeing we ain't on to this? Let's.
So real quick, so I wanted to talk. Women, we all have daughters.
Right.
Correct.
We all been men out here. We
Right.
all lived life.
Right.
We all lived the bachelor life.
Absolutely.
I was a little loud, Mike.
He was agreeing on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we were.
I came, I saw, I conquered.
Right.
Anyway, but being fathers of daughters now, knowing that those situations can happen, like, give me like what's your guys' approach? Like, how do you like having daughters? How does that kind of
it changed my whole? It's like, so I tell people all the time, man. Y'all, all of y'all know me. Like, so we all go back, and so I feel like it was my destiny and my karma in the universe to have all girls.
All girls, huh?
I've got all girls.
same thing?
Right? So like I had the first one,
dribble and shoot like.
after the first one, it was like, all right, and then I remember after the first one, just with everything that happened with that relationship, I told myself that I was not gonna have any more children until I got married.
Right.
So then when I got married, and then my wife thought that our first daughter together it's gonna be a boy. And I was like, I don't know. Right.
Much girl
it turned out a girl, right?
Yep.
Then the second time, so my youngest came around, and my wife was stuck. She was like, no, this one is gonna be a boy. And I was like, I don't think you know who you're dealing with.
So I always joke around, and we go to Utah, but I always joke around. I joke with me and my homeboys. We say, we was running wild back then.
Wow.
And I always joke around and say, the man upstairs said, oh, y'all motherfuckers think you funny. Okay,
Yes.
you get all girls,
Right.
you get all
Seriously.
girls, and you get all girls. Y'all
Seriously.
motherfuckers think it's funny. Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah, but Char, what's your take on it, man? As far as daughters and knowing what...
Oh, man. I guess I had to piggyback on, what Bruh said. I have 2 girls and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, as a man now, and at the age I am now, you think back, you're like, man, you think back at your younger years, you're like, boy, I was out there, I was wild, I was, it definitely brings you back to a sense of reality, like, I pray that
That karma don't come back.
That karma don't come back on my girls. You know what I mean?
You hoping that they don't run into the guys that we were
That we
at
were.
that time.
And let me say this too, though. Let me say this though. Right?
It wasn't good. I mean,
There was being single. Let me lay that first out. Loud.
Right.
Being single, there's a pool that single men choose from. Sometimes you get a quantity pool. Sometimes you get a quality pool.
Yeah,
right? Here's the only scary part about me, right? When to think about my daughter, I'm for sure she's gonna come from a good stock, right?
Yeah.
The problem I had was in the single world, shark ate the good stock and the bad stock.
Right.
So then, no matter what you do,
Right.
you leave room to say, what the fuck did you out here doing out here on this goddamn gram? You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to change drastically from what we know to what they can get away with.
You can talk about the gram.
So, fake pages, like when you start watching stuff like the Shy and
man.
stuff, they got a Finstagram, a fake Instagram.
Right.
Like what? Like that's scary to know that no matter
Yes.
what you're doing in the household, because here's the truth. Everybody here is gonna feel like they gave good stock to their kids.
Right.
And if your kids is doing anything that you don't approve of at 50, don't mean what you approve of at 22.
Right.
What you don't approve of at 50 is gonna look weird, but it's not. My hard understanding is, do you beat yourself up?
Right.
Or do you just keep doing your best and just knowing that hopefully that they will mature and grow to what goes? Because everybody's gonna have a whole phase, man, woman, child. For the most part, I don't know about everybody. I can't speak for everybody.
But
I feel like
everybody.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody. I mean, but it's very close.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna have a whole phase, man and woman, and sometimes you break out of it, and sometimes you don't. I just, I feel like I think whether because college gives you, you want to say, oh, I want to bring my kids to college. Oh, you're gonna introduce them to the whole phase for sure.
Yeah.
You just gave them a whole phase with no responsibility.
College.
See, at least the real world they can't hold as much because you gotta pay some bills.
Right.
You gotta do some shit. There was no bills.
You know what's crazy? Like, I got 3 daughters myself, and the one approach that I've decided to take with them is just to be as transparent and honest and real as possible. You know what I'm saying? I think that you talking about college.
Yeah.
I always think back to the sheltered girls. When they got them,
they got the college,
It went crazy.
Wow,
Yeah,
it was like a bull getting
Church
let out.
girls or the typical church.
The girls that were sheltered, once they got out in the open, it was open season on them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
that does not neglect the girl that I already knew at 15 having babies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's the who's the. I was going to bring up to say, in a good household and a bad household, you in the waters. You know what I'm saying?
You know, the thing is, as parents, you know, you don't have control over what your kid's going to do.
Right.
You know, I think what you can control is you bestowing your wisdom on them or putting them up on game. And that's kind of the approach that I take with my daughters. I tried, you know, I'm not going to be no hypocrite. I ain't going to say, oh, well, don't have sex, you know, before.
Right.
You know, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to, you know, to the best of my ability, just try to look out for this.
Right.
Don't try not to put yourself in situations like this.
Yeah.
That damn Instagram and all social be like, once you hit send, it's out there. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell them, look, don't post stuff from an emotional standpoint.
Right.
If you're mad at something, if you're, you know, whatever the case may be, think
Right.
a couple minutes before you hit the send
I want to
button.
ask something totally different. Still pertaining to fatherhood, and get a minute or 30 seconds of everybody's quick answers of what they're, because of how times have changed from the 80s, 70s, 60s to current day. We're all put in a scenario where your kids are at least 16 or older in this scenario that I'm talking about. Your kid comes to you and said they're ready to smoke marijuana, or you've already found them smoking marijuana.
Who wants to go first?
I'm asking this question because marijuana isn't looked at the same way it was back then.
Back in the day, yeah.
And by the time your kids are these ages, it's going to be legal the same way cigarette and alcohol is.
Well,
What will
I'm gonna
change?
go ahead and start out there.
Let's go.
Because I've literally been having this thought in my head, like what, you know, and it was crazy. What it was last week. So my oldest is 17, right? Which, if you know, you have a teenage daughter, is like a whole nother level when you're talking about like everything we've been talking about, Instagram, the whole shit. It's just crazy, right? Talking about getting ready for college and all that. She went to get her nails done. And she she went into somebody's house, right? So when I went to go pick her up,
Smell that
she
gas.
comes out the car. She comes out the house. She gets in the car. She's like, "Yeah, look at my nails," and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, my mind is on something else. 'Cause I said, "Yo," I said,
Smoking that.
I said, somebody in there smoking that kush.
Right. I know what kush is.
She was like, oh, I think her boyfriend does. I was like, cause like you smell like a pound of kush right now.
Right. You ain't even trying to play it off.
Right.
Like I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, I'm looking at
you upset?
Well, I was in my mind. I'm like, okay, you smell like a pound of kush. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. You know, you start thinking, but I'm like, you know, when we was running in high school,
would you have been equally upset if she just had a shot? Not say she smoked anything. Mm-hmm. Let's say she did smoke. Let's say she did. Hypothetically, let's not use your daughter if you don't want to be. I don't, because I'm not trying to offend it. Let's just say the daughter did smoke. Would you have been upset, or should the father be upset? And what would have been the difference if she would have hit a black and mild or took a sip of a shot? You know, how do those differentiate? That's what my point was.
No, I see what you're saying.
I'm a heavy weed smoker. Yeah. I won't smoke around my kids. I don't even smoke in my house.
Right.
But when they come time, if somebody asks me, one of my kids, I'm probably going to give them the advice of saying you have to let at least your lungs and brain mature. Even though I didn't take that advice, I won't be mad at you. You know what I'm saying? But my only hindrance, my only red line I want to give you is your lungs and brain need to mature before you do this regularly. After that, I don't have any more. Yeah. I have just as much hate for cigarettes than I do for marijuana.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think that's a good take because it's like, you know, it's like, well, yo, I may or may not have partake in.
You don't want to go that route though. You don't want to go the route of acting like you holding.
No, I'm talking. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that.
Oh yeah. For the right now.
Listen, the way I approach that is the same way I'm going to approach alcohol. I'm not going to beat up here now. I think we're all pro weed.
Yeah,
marijuana.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no problems with it whatsoever. I think it should be legalized across the board federally. You know what I'm saying? However, with that said, I would just my advice to my daughters or anybody young is the fact that, okay, I think, you know, doing it at a certain age, I think you have to put some sort of limit on it. You know what I'm saying? So whether it's 18, whether it's 21, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I think that I would just say to them, listen, I'm not against it. I'm with it. Mm-hmm. However, if anything, wait to 18, or when you do decide, because you're going to do it. If you ask me, you're going to go do it. Mm-hmm. Just do it responsibly. And then you go into detail about
responsible. The problem was being a heavy weed smoker. I have a little bit more that I can come at him with. Who the fuck paying for this weed?
Yeah.
You ain't gonna keep coming to me for $20 to get you high. I got my own habits. So that's where my kids will start seeing, oh, this shit might not be worth it because I'm daddy not getting ready, not understanding what's going on. Because sometimes if you're not a smoker and your kid asks you for $30-$40, you have no idea it's going to weed or alcohol and stuff because it's just not what you do. I'm always thinking that's what these kids. Oh, what you need that money for? Right. You got everything in the house. You got shoes. What you getting ready to go get? Right. You know what I'm saying? So my mind would be a little different catered on that. Not that I would stop them, but I'd be grilling them so much. You'd have to already be. Because I didn't have to ask my mom for money for my habits. And if you don't have to do that, and it does not affect your grades, which it did not, if all of that does, if you figured out how to do all of that well, it doesn't make no sense for me to stop you at this point.
I think it'd be hypocritical. I look at it like it'd be hypocritical for me to,
we're going to be hypocrites as parents.
Being responsible.
Yeah. We're going to be hypocrites as parents. We're going to be
to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's being transparent. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you smoke, taking it back, like the statute of limitation is gone now. You know what I'm saying? Going back to high school. You know what I'm saying? We back in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you talking about that in college. You talking about 17, 18 years old, like smoking heavy. Like you talking about going to college. It was like heavy smoke fest.
Right.
It was smoke
and
fest.
That's what you send them to.
Yeah,
so
right.
So the real world, you can't even afford it as much because you have bills and work and shit like that.
Right.
When you go to college, that is the ultimate sending them off to.
So, and that's why I think you just have to. This is just everyone has different approaches parenting wise. I just think you just have to be real with your kids. Right. Just be real, be transparent. I like the approach. You tell them. From what you said, you didn't say no, don't do it. You just said, hey, look, man, this is what you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of do's and don'ts. Don't base your smoking off of me or anybody else you watch. That would be what I would say. Yeah. It's do's and don'ts. This shit comes with do's and don'ts. You're gonna be slow. You're gonna be sleepy. You're gonna do shit that come with it. There's the after effects.
So to me, I think that's the best approach. Give them the pros and cons. Yeah. Don't be a hypocrite.
Right.
And then just be real.
And for me, I think. Just to touch on what all y'all said, I would be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, be responsible.
Right.
But for me, and this may sound crazy, if it's gonna be your first time, I'd rather your first time be with me.
I'm with you on that.
I'd rather be with daddy, so therefore you can understand.
You gotta be 21 for me to consider it.
Well, I mean, even if it's 21,
but ain't gonna be the first time. Most likely,
you're probably right. But I'm just saying, if I had it my way, I would say. Your first time, I'd rather be with me versus be your friend or your homeboy who you think is your homeboy. But you don't know what they lace. You know what I mean?
Right.
I understand.
Well, that's realistically, the point of teaching them because of that. Somebody relates your weed. Make sure you watch what you're smoking.
Right.
If you're going to smoke, these are the things that you gotta. Right. So that's why I say, when you're a really true long-term weed smoker such as myself, there's so many things that I can actually tell you. I ain't telling you to do this or not do it. These are long-term things that come with this shit.
This is what comes with.
This you got all of this. You with all of that. Cool. Now, but the point I'm making was your initial reaction was a slight bit of anger when she got in that car.
Right. Well, because
it was slightly a bit of anger.
It was unexpected.
If it was a cigarette smoke, you'd be like, damn, it stink like cigarette.
No, I probably would.
You wouldn't have thought she smoked cigarette. You thought she smoked weed. That was the issue.
I didn't even necessarily think that she smoked weed. But it was like, yo,
you been around.
Your initial,
you was in there.
Your initial thought was the weed. Whether you were around it, it was something negative. Was the only point I made about it. But if she came out smoking like cigarettes, you'd just be like, damn, you smell like a cigarette. You wouldn't even cross your mind because you thought you know your daughter so well that she even smoked cigarettes. That was how I'm telling people keep viewing weed, which is crazy because now weed is the equivalent, if not even better than a cigarette, because a cigarette is still telling you they're going to die. We haven't never labeled weed as something that can kill you.
Yeah, no.
Cigarettes we labeled can kill you, but my point was older heads, older than us, our age, that initial spark. You hear this motherfucker smelling like weed and shit. Goddamn.
I guess maybe it's because you went and got your nails done.
Yeah,
you come out
smelling like weed.
I'm talking about was
right. Good stuff.
So it's the unexpected. She's like, hold on.
But my point is,
you got your nails done, but did you hit the shit?
But that's my point. A lot of stuff leads that. None of that leads to that. If she came out smelling like a Black and Mild or a cigarette, something like that. That was the only point I'm making. Is we have to loosen up on that rein because what we systematically been. Institutionalized in our brain think of what weed is because how our parents looked at it, or how your grandparents, no, out there smoking that reefer, right. So you know what I mean. Like now, what that is as an adult, you feel like they're saying like, you equate negativity to the
To
marijuana,
marijuana.
which
And
is
it's
not
not.
true.
Yeah,
That is not true. It's,
At all.
you know, what I mean, if she came out smelling like a cigarette, my kid came out smoking a cigarette, I'm flipping,
Yeah.
way over the weed. I smell weed like, dang, y'all smell like butt in that motherfucker. But the cigarette, I'd be like, yo, what the fuck? You can die. Are you crazy?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can die. Like, I'd go crazy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you
I'm
can
with you on
die.
that.
So like, yeah, we gotta wrap it up, but the transparency is definitely key. Like, I'm straight up with her, especially because she's older. You know what I'm saying? She's 17, so it's like, yo, I give
Shit
it
is
to her.
real.
I
Yeah,
give it
shit
to
is
her
real.
straight up.
I
Like,
like
I give it to her
baby
straight
shit,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, I give it to her straight up. This is how dudes coming at you or gonna come at you. This is the type of shit that was going on in college. This is the type of shit. Like, I'm just straight up. Like, these are the stories. I'm telling you these stories not to scare you, but this is the real shit that happens.
That's why I never embraced the having the daughter thing as the curse. Because I embraced
It's
it
not,
as
definitely not a curse.
I mean, you know what I mean, but like, damn, you know how we just talking
love
about
it.
God
No,
put us
I
down
love
here
it.
like have us girl.
I
I felt like, oh, he getting ready to make me get some strong women because I
Yeah.
mean, damn, she gonna be too
Right.
weak. Now she might
Right.
give up some butt, but she ain't getting
Right.
ready to be
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? She
right.
ain't getting ready to be no
Yeah,
smutty
yeah.
duddy.
Kind of girls we saw back in day type.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. That's the real talk. It's definitely a blessing. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's that.
I didn't mean curse or negative. I just meant like how
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
talking.
yeah,
How
yeah.
people make
Yeah,
views.
girls,
Yeah,
that girl, I've been, been
yeah,
calmer,
I mean,
you know.
yeah.
I never, it's the most beautiful thing. It definitely, it softens you up. Having daughters, it makes you softer. It's, the mother has to be more the discipline because at this point in the game,
daughter
it's
right.
kind of like,
Do whatever she wants. My youngest, yeah, my youngest
I
get
step
away with
in every
anything.
now and then, like with the Samuel
My
Jackson
son
meme.
works. My daughter works. What he does?
I just, you let the mom be the disciplinarian, and then I come in like, with the Samuel Jackson meme, and just kind of do that look,
Yeah.
just to kind of,
I
be
will
the-
whoop your ass.
But yeah, man.
You'll never touch it.
And I despise. I just want to put that out there. We talked about the deadbeats. I do despise deadbeats because they seem like they really are just living their best life.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their children are out here. You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, man, let's wrap on that. This actually is something that we can actually bring back up again because there's still more stuff that we didn't get to.
Everything we talk about is, man. So
You see what I'm
it's
saying?
history there that we can,
Just be active fathers. fellas.
Right, man.
No matter what,
Be
man.
active.
Moral
Be
of the
active.
story.
or
Yeah,
stepfathers.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
stepfathers.
Whatever that is.
That's a
male positive role
role
model
model.
to
Yeah.
a child.
That's a
I'm
whole
a step-
topic
Let's
in
do that
itself.
because if you
Yeah.
are not that good for your own, be good for the next.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Be good for the next if you ain't been that good for your own.
So we're gonna wrap it there. This was brought to you by the Interleague Network, you guys. Another episode in the books. Let's make history. We out.
Peace.